Ephesians 4:1. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. Get it? That ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called. May I say to you today, either God is sovereign or he is not. I believe that he is. I believe the evidence shows us overwhelmingly that God is sovereign. Now, if that is the case, and I believe it is, then the vocation wherewith we are called is whatever situation, whichever home, whichever placement God has so placed us. You know, many falsely assume that a vocation is a job. Vocation does not mean career. Vocation literally means designation. This means that God has designated for you to be where you are with the family you're with, doing the job that you're doing. May I tell you, as I've pastored and counseled this last decade or so, something that I have seen ruin more people than anything else is an unwillingness to walk worthy of their vocation, of their designation by God. College students fail to accept that they are where God has placed them, and so they skip classes, or they bail on their homework or their assignments, or they quit paying their school bills. I've seen wives that fail to accept where God has placed them as the heart of the home and the helpmeet to their husband. I've watched ladies with a loving husband, a nice house, and beautiful children throw it all away for an extramarital relationship or to make their own money and pave their own way. I have watched husbands abandon their role as the provider to play video games or to waste their living on toys and pleasure. I have watched husbands leave a loving wife and children for a romantic relationship because they failed to see that it is God who has placed them as the head of that household. I've watched fathers and mothers both leave their children unprovided for, alone at home without food enough in the pantry so that they can go get drunk, get high, or have fun. Let me tell you today, you owe a responsibility to those that God has placed in your life to provide for them. You say, well, I didn't want this responsibility. God has designated for you to be the responsible party. You know, several months ago, there was a story of a woman out in Ohio. She had a newborn baby. And she was a young mother, and she just decided that she wanted to have a vacation. She wanted a break from being a new mother. And so she planned a multiple week vacation. She left her baby, her newborn baby, in the crib with several bottles of formula and left for a few weeks. The baby, of course, perished due to starvation and neglect. That woman was tried for murder. And we look at that and we say, what a criminal abandonment of duty, that you as a mother would leave your newborn child to fend for themselves. And I agree with you, what a criminal abandonment of duty. And yet there are fathers who would rather be out drinking with their paycheck than paying the bills and caring for their children and their wife. I'd be ashamed to ignore my family, to ignore my children, to go out and get drunk or go out and hang out with the boys or even pick up a video game controller while my children were sitting there waiting for some attention from daddy. Hey, there are ladies who would rather be out acting like a child than being a keeper at home and a helpmeet. May I say today, ladies, I'd be ashamed to be on Pinterest or Facebook while my sink was full of dishes. I'd be ashamed to be seeking nicer things while my husband slaved away to provide for me. We will look at that mother and judge her and say, what an abandonment of duty. And yet many a Christian today, they're abandoning their duty. There are Christians who are responsible for leading a family that will sleep in or go to the beach or watch football games instead of leading their family to the Lord and leading their family in service to God. You know, God tells us in Proverbs 27:8, as a bird that wandereth from her nest, so is a man that wandereth from his place. You say, what does that mean? A mama bird, when she leaves, she wanders from her nest. She leaves that nest and the eggs therein and the chicks therein, open to predators and open to starvation. And she puts a great injury, a great damage upon that for which she should be caring. And God tells us that's what it's like when a Christian wanders from their place. You see, folks, God has placed you where He has placed you for you to fulfill His will in your life. Might I challenge you today to just decide this is the home that God has given me and this is the home that I will protect. It would be good for every mother to make the decision. This is the husband with which God has placed me, and I'm going to be his helpmate, and I'm going to support him, and I'm going to be the Christian wife that he needs. And it'd be good for some of you mothers to decide, I am the keeper of this home and the maker of this home, and I guard the spirit of this home, and I'm responsible for the spirit and the heart within my home, and I'm going to be the mother that I ought to be and be the wife that I need to be. It's about time that some husbands decide, this is the spot in life in which God has placed me. This is the family with whom God has placed me. These are the children and the wife with whom God has placed me, and I'm going to provide for them. I'm going to do my duty, and I'm going to do everything that I can to walk worthy of God entrusting me in this role. It's about time we as Christians get away from the feelings and the emotional motivations that we take into everyday life. It's about time that some of us decide to just walk worthy of the vocation wherewith we are called, and to walk worthy of the Savior who entrusted us with the responsibilities that he has entrusted us. May I say to you today, our world would be a much better place if mamas and daddies and husbands and wives and Christians in general, if we just decided to enjoy where we're at and decide to make the vocation wherein we are called the best vocation that it can be, the best home that it can be, the best family that it can be, the best church that it can be, and just decide to walk worthy of God in the vocation wherewith he has called us. Fathers, walk worthy of that vocation as the provider. Husbands, walk worthy of your vocation as the leader of your home spiritually. Mothers, walk worthy of your vocation as the spirit of the home. Wives, walk worthy of your vocation as the helpmeet. Christian, walk worthy of the place God has designated for you to be. You see, folks, Paul was a prisoner, and here he says, you walk worthy of your Savior wherever you are. What a challenge to us. We ought to walk worthy of our Savior as a father, and as a mother, and as a husband, and as a wife, and as a Christian. Now, I read recently that a man who lacks purpose distracts himself with pleasure. May I tell you today, I know that this challenge is not a fluffy, feel-good word of encouragement, but let me challenge you. Far too many people abandon the position in which God has placed them to pursue pleasure. Let me challenge you today that we walk worthy of our vocation, that we walk worthy of the designation in which God has placed us. I pray this has been a help and a challenge to you. We love you, folks. We'll see you tonight at 7.